Hello, everybody. Babuni's back, and he hasn't forgotten about his Times to Come set review. He's just been putting it up. So thank you for the people who reached out and wanted to see this video completed. So I'm just going to jump right into it. We last looked at heroes, and now we're going to look at their enhancements. So starting with white, benefits from believing. 3/3 white, you may underdeck an evil card and draw a card. Used by Daniel, hero, repeat one time. So you need to have initiative to play this one. The upside is you get to underdeck 2 and draw 2. But if I'm playing white enhancements in my type 1 deck right now, I think I'd need a specific reason to play a card that I have to get initiative to play, like this. I've been experimenting with the Daniel deck, who likes to choose their blocker after putting a blocker in their territory. And so, for example, this card says withdraw all evil characters, you may draw 3. So it withdraws the evil character that I put in their territory, like Sisera, for example, and then I get to draw 3 cards. So the benefit about Water from the Lord is you get to withdraw them, so you get to do the choose the blocker thing next turn in theory. So that's like a scenario where I'd consider playing this type of card. So it's an Old Testament battle winner, can be used with Daniel choosing the blocker, but instead of withdrawing the blocker, it underdecks them. So maybe there's a strategy that really likes underdecking things, like underdecking your own cards. I don't know. But personally, I don't think this card's going to see any play. And yeah, let's move on. Warn the fire, interrupt the battle, protect OT heroes from harm. Lone Daniel hero may band up to 3 OT heroes. So I love enhancements that interrupt the battle and band. And this one's capping it at 3 instead of any number. But you have to play this on your Daniel hero. Lone Daniel hero may band up to 3 OT heroes. So you can't just put this in any white deck that wants to band. You have to be a Daniel deck. So this already kind of limits it. But maybe the first part could be playable by itself. Interrupt the battle, protect OT heroes from harm. I feel like if there was a white enhancement that said interrupt the battle, protect OT heroes from harm, I don't think that's where you'd want to be right now. But yeah, I don't know who said this, but I think it might have been Josh, but he was saying, like, if you're the Daniel deck, what you're trying to do is put a bunch of heroes in the battle in a big band, and you're not trying to get initiative to play cards like this. So I could see it still being okay in the scenario where you are playing a big band. Interrupt the battle, protect OT heroes from harm. It's interesting that this card can be played with alone or with many heroes. But if there's ever a card that says interrupt the battle and band, it's going to be on my radar of cards I want to try and build around. So from a deck building perspective, this is an interesting card that I like having around as an option to build around. Given for God territory class, look at the top 7. You may take a good Daniel card, if used by Daniel Human, repeat one time. So it's like a great consistency piece in the Daniel deck. See this being really good in smaller Daniel decks who are really trying to dig for their Ancient of Days or their Meshach or their Daniel or their Michael or their Prayer of Power. Like, these are the key Daniel cards. And so being able to dig 14 cards in, that's pretty good. Let's see, if you have a 50 card deck and you draw 8 cards, then you have 42 cards. Let me bring out my calculator. 14... Yeah, like basically, if you have 42 cards left in your deck, this card will be able to look through 33% of your deck, I think. I think that's how the math works. And most of the time, you're going to have less than that. So at minimum, this is looking through at least 33% of your deck if you're playing a 50-card deck. So yeah, I love this card. This card is sweet. But I guess it's only going to work in a deck that's built around Daniel. So deck building restrictions. Measured mean, this is our white and crimson enhancement. Underdeck any number of cards from hand to draw X. X is the number of cards underdecked. You may play an OT enhancement. Cannot be negated or cannot be interrupted. I do like cards that say cannot be interrupted if they're playing an enhancement, because if somebody negates the play, it gets really complicated, especially also on cards where you're like underdecking a bunch and then drawing a bunch. Like negating that and undoing all that is a nightmare. So good job, Tyler, for giving this card cannot be interrupted, so players don't have to worry about that. But if it didn't say cannot be interrupted, my competitive side of me wants to be on the lookout for these type of cards that play enhancements, because you can play something that negates the card that played it and you get your enhancement back. So I'm always on the lookout for those type of effects from a deck building perspective, because they can be kind of powerful. But alas, that effect is not here. This is you have to get initiative, but once you get initiative, you can cycle through a lot of cards in your hand and still get to play enhancement. So maybe there's like a combo deck looking for a certain card. Maybe you're a 100-card deck trying to cycle duplicate cards out of your hand. Having it be able to be played on the Crimson side is okay. It's an interesting effect. I do like cards that underdeck and then draw like that. It's kind of like cycling through your deck or like having those type of abilities, and I wish there were more, frankly. So yeah, this is an interesting card. I like it. If I'm playing a big 100-card Daniel deck, I think this definitely makes the cut. Prayer of Prophecy. This is a crazy card. 7 power, cannot be negated, and if used by Daniel here, you get to negate 3 evil cards and draw 3 cards. So by itself, it's already pretty good. Cannot be negated, negate an evil card and drop to 1. So compare that to, what was the one from IR? It was like, yeah, Steady Till Sunset. And this card saw play. Negate an evil card, opponent must discard the top card of your deck. So I would say having 7 power, that's more relevant in a world where you need to toss down Herod's and people under Herod's Temple. So already that's like a compelling reason to want to play the 7 power. Cannot be negated, negate. And then drawing a card is better than discarding the top card of your opponent's deck, although the dedicated mill players will disagree with me. So already by itself, 7 power, CBN, negate, evil card, draw a card. That's great. But if you play this in a Daniel deck, negate 3 evil cards, draw 3 cards, cannot be negated is great. Another application you can use for this card is if you're playing the Choose the Blocker Daniel deck, you can play cards like the Cross or the Colosseum. And if you attack with Daniel, you choose an evil character with strength 7 or less to block. You play your Prayer over Power. You toss it, actually, so you're not going to be able to use its effect. But now they're in special initiative. And the thing that is the toss is the Cross, or if it's a Colosseum, it's an evil card. So they'll need to play a card that negates an evil card if you're tossing with the Colosseum, or negates the Cross if you're tossing with the Cross. So there aren't a lot of evil enhancements that negate neutral cards. So let me just try to find one. Neutral. I don't want alignment neutral. I want negate neutral. So you'd have to have like a begging to go back and abandoned and evade, stuff like that. Fear of Man. So there's not a lot of those type of cards running around. There's a couple, Reprimand, Repercussion, Blade. But yeah, if you put your opponent in special initiative with toss from the Cross on Daniel, there's not a lot they can do about it. Let's just say that much. Lurking isn't going to save you there, Tyler. So that's a cool little application you can do with Prayer of Power that works really nice on Daniel. And of course, this is nice being able to go in with the big Daniel band. An opponent's trying to disrupt your Daniel band by playing enhancements. This will shut all that down and negate a couple evil cards in the way. So great card, really strong. Expect to be seeing it in any white deck you play. Is this playable in Nativity, I wonder? Would Nativity want to place a card that said negate an evil card? I mean, here's what you can do with Nativity is you can attack with your Mary and you have a Herod's Temple down and they block. And you just activate Herod's Temple and now you start toss battle. So maybe there's like a world where you want to try and load up on all these enhancements that have high power that also are pretty good. So maybe there's like a white deck using Herod's Temple that wants to use this too on offensive toss. Yeah. That's all I have to say about this card. Let's keep moving. Rescued from Lines, 6/1, negate a card. I love cards that say negate a card as opposed to like negate the last evil enhancement or negate an evil card. Negate a card can help you get out of special initiative from neutral cards, or I don't know, you can negate a Herod's Temple or like whatever. Having the flexibility to negate any card in play, like a Lost Soul, an Artifact, a Fortress, doesn't have to be evil. That like raises the bar on me for what cards can do. So already negate a card. You had me at negate a card. You may take a Daniel hero from deck. You may reveal a good dominant from hand to repeat 1 time. So this kind of reminds me of Scarlet Line, I guess. A little bit more restrictive. Negate an evil enhancement. You may take up to 2 Joshua heroes from deck. So you don't have to jump through the hoops of revealing a dominant to take your heroes from your deck. But the downside is this negates only evil enhancements. I do think Scarlet Line's a little bit better than what this card is. Having that cannot be negated modifier is great. Yeah, but I don't know. This card's good. Maybe you're playing a big 100-card Daniel deck and you want ways to get your Daniel heroes. This is a great way to do it, I suppose. Seeking Compassion. Reserve an evil card. You may take a good OT dominant from deck or a good Daniel card from reserve. So if there's any cards that let me take dominance from my deck, I tend to pay a lot of attention to them because I know how strong that type of effect is, especially in the context of larger decks. But unfortunately, if it's pasted to an enhancement that you need initiative to play in battle, it's going to be really slow. But like, let's say you're just coming in with the David, Heart After God. get initiative, reserve an evil something, grab your Angel of the Lord, Glory of the Lord from your deck and play it down. You've probably won the battle. So this card's not unplayable, but I think it just wants to be in a specific type of deck that tries to get initiative and has lots of good dominance in their deck that they're willing to burn early to something like this. But yeah, all right, let's keep moving on. Shattered and Scorched. Negate and banish an evil card except a human. If used by Michael or Daniel, repeat up to 1 time. Cannot be negated if used by Daniel hero. So it kind of falls in the same category of Prayer of Power. It's a CBN negate if you're used by a Daniel hero, but this gets really powerful when used by Michael or Daniel. It also gets super powerful when you're being blocked by a demon. So let me just keep going back to Daniel and how busted of a redemption card he is. Because what you can do is go in with your Daniel, choose a character to block that's a demon or not a human, right? And assuming you chose one that gives you initiative to play enhancement, you have a CBN negate and banish their blocker. And so there's a lot of ways to put demons in opponent's territory. Maybe there's some ways to put animals in opponent's territory, but yeah, this is just a strong combo card with Daniel and choosing a demon. Like even Daniel choosing Prince of the Air as a blockers, like what are they going to do? They can't underdeck your Daniel unless they get a Colosseum or Satan's Seed out of their deck. And even if they try to underdeck your Daniel, you're in special initiative and you can just play your CBN, negate and banish their Prince of the Air. So yeah, this is best against demons, but it works great against evil enhancements too. But don't go into battle thinking you can negate your opponent's evil human. I've had a couple opponents try to negate my Herods with this card. Didn't quite work out for them. And it's another card that combos well with that Daniel toss strategy, put them in special initiative. So yeah, very strong enhancement, not as powerful as Prayer of Power, ironically, but still really good. And I think I definitely want to keep both in the deck. This can just incidentally take out fortresses and stuff. The final act, Unity, here Daniel's reference. Shuffle all evil cards in a territory. You may shuffle your hand to draw 8, regardless of Protect. Cannot be negated. Has a lot of good modifiers. It has regardless of Protect, cannot be negated, but do have to get initiative and have Unity heroes. Daniel reference. So it's really, what kind of deck would want to play this? Maybe there's a world where you know what? Like I've been experimenting with the Daniel choose a blocker deck, and one of the weaknesses with that deck is it kind of gets low on resources. And so this could be a way to this is kind of like a mayhem, right? Where you put all your stuff down before going to battle, attack with Daniel, choose someone who you know you're going to get initiative with, and then you get a CBN, and regardless of Protect, like shuffle all their evil cards in their territory and draw 8 cards. It's not ideal because in Daniel deck, in that Daniel archetype, you don't want to try and give them initiative. So by playing this, you will be passing initiative and not even putting them in special initiative. But I'm just like trying to imagine a world where I'd want to play this card. I could see that being a world where I wanted to play that card. If I was like a Turbo Mayhem type Daniel deck. But just because like Daniel exists, all these Daniel enhancements that require initiative to do things get a lot better because Daniel can set up that initiative really well. And let's just see if there's any other Daniel heroes that are good at getting initiative by themselves. Get my handy Daniel filter going. So yeah, you got Abednego, I guess. 1 power is probably going to get initiative a lot. Servants of the King attacking, probably going to get initiative, but outside of that, yeah, not a bunch of ways to get initiative. Okay, let us continue on with the green enhancements here. Enjoy their hands, negate an evil card, reveal a hand, you may play enhancement regardless of Brigade. So I think this only lets you play good enhancements from their hand, because I don't think you can play an evil enhancement on your hero. So that's a little caveat. And yeah, sure, this can set up some really swingy sequences, and hand information is great. Helps you figure out how many resources you're going to commit to a battle. Yeah, just overall, solid card. This card is backbreaking booster draft though, let me tell you. But am I going to be playing this in my Prophet deck? It is an Isaiah enhancement, so wait a second. There are cards that care about Isaiah references. So let me look at special ability. They can't Ethiopian eunuch? Yeah, here's the deck builders. These are the things that deck builders love to think about. So Ethiopian treasure. If you're getting attacked by Ethiopian treasure, watch out. He might just enjoy your hand. What else? What else cares about Isaiah enhancements? You can underdeck, and then Isaiah enhancements cannot be negated. So if you attacked with this guy, you played from their hands, that would be CBN. That's like not nothing, not super exciting, but still. Oh, you could underdeck your Isaiah card. Although, like, whenever there's a hero that can win the battle with its special ability after you banned it into battle, I'm still kind of like That's on my radar. So Ethiopian treasure, if you band them in the battle, you can, if you fulfill this crazy condition, if you have to have a deacon or an Isaiah card. Like maybe there's a green deck that is built around Amos, and it's all about banding cards into battle and trying to win the battle. So this is like your poor man's Amos. It's so bad though. Amos is so better, so much better. Anyways, let's see. Yeah. So anyways, that's Isaiah referenced. That's kind of on my mind because there's that Isaiah from Roots. It makes these things CBN, and that's really good in booster draft. So you're booster drafting and you got Isaiah, pick up your Isaiah enhancements. Last days, shuffle an evil character. If used by Ezekiel, repeat up to 3 times. Cannot be prevented. So cannot be prevented shuffle. That's kind of good if you're, doing like a Moses deck. Moses is always on the look for cannot be prevented enhancements. So just having one that could shuffle a blocker is great. That's what immediately comes to my mind. Is there any other green fight by the numbers heroes? I think Moses is it. Yeah. Let's look at Ezekiel then. Ezekiel. So you have a couple Ezekiels here. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get an initiative with them, I guess. Not impossible. But yeah, I think the best case for this card is like in a Moses deck. You're all in on Moses. You want those battle winners. Here you go. Here's a bone. Perdify. Perfidy. Where am I getting the D from? Yeah, perdify is not even a word. Okay, anyways, we're learning new words thanks to Redemption. Perfidy. Reveal a hand if you may reserve an enhancement if 4 or more brigades are revealed. Repeat one more time. I guess we're also learning how to read. So CBN, Isaiah, if played on Isaiah, you have to get initiative. This is really good in booster draft, but in real life, it's okay if you're trying to play battles where you're using enhancements, but frankly speaking, a lot of redemption battles aren't fought using enhancements these days in type 1. So yeah, it has the flexibility of being brown. I guess that's cool. Yes. Well, yeah, it's a green card that messes with your opponent's hand, just like enjoy their hands, but it's not a negate. So if I had to choose perfidy or enjoy their hands, I think I'd choose enjoy their hands. Poisonally. All right, pride laid low. Each player must select 1 card from their hand. Restrict players from playing cards except the cards they selected from hand. This is a deck building type review, so people are gonna expect me to know how to play this card and how could you build a deck around this card? And the answer is to that, I do not know. I do not know this card. This is my expression when I'm trying to read this card. I think it's super cool, but yeah, it's just involves music. So that's something to start with. Maybe we could look at special ability, music. So it's green though, so we have to have something that's green. David's harp is active. You may play an enhancement involving music. So you can attack with David and you can play Pride Laid Low. And wouldn't that prevent them from blocking with evil characters in their territory? Like they'd have to block with the evil character from their hand, right? They'd have to reveal evil character from their hand and then they blocked with that. And that's the only card that they can do. Is that how that works? That's kind of cute. I love that. If you play like a 100 card deck, you could do that twice. Because what does David's harp do again? David's harp. Because it can take a good enhancement that involves music from deck. It's like a 2-card combo. You get David out, you put David's harp on him. David's harp can get your Pride Laid Low. And then you play Pride Laid Low. Attack with David, play Pride Laid Low. And then each player must select 1 card from their hand, restrict players from playing cards, except the card they selected from hand. So I think that's how that works. And that's awesome if it works that way. I think we'll have to definitely get a confirmation in the rulings question on Discord. But I will let one of my viewers ask that question and let them look super smart. But if somebody else has already discovered this combo, let me know. I don't want to steal your thunder. Anyways, involves music. Where were we? Oh yes, we're looking at cards that involve music. You may exchange a card from hand with a good card that involves music from reserve. Okay, put it in reserve. Have Miriam main deck. Music leader can get it back. Oh, so interesting. So music leader is another way to get to it early and also a way to recur it in late game. So like you build your deck around getting music leader out and David's harp, and then just if opponent draws or searches, you can do your cute David thing again. Oh, I love that. I love that. What does this card do? Top deck a good card. Okay, whatever. Okay, so yeah, I think it has some potential because of that identifier that says involving music. So whenever you see a card that says involving music, start looking at the musicians because there might be something weird. Ooh, look at the flavor text, or not the flavor text. Forgive me, Lord. It's called the scripture. And look at this, but the Lord will lay low his pride together with the trickery of his hands. There's some trickery going on here with this card. I love how it kind of inherently messes with that. Oh man, I want to know if that works because that would be sweet. All right, let's move on. I can't keep getting stuck on the cards. Double Rainbow, the former Forgotten. Isaiah Enhancement, reserve all evil cards in battle. If used by Isaiah Hero, you may take an OT green enhancement from discard pile. Another way to recur this, but anyways, CBN, Isaiah Enhancement, if played on Isaiah. Let's look at the type of cards that we can recur with this. Green enhancements. Good green enhancements. So I'll leave this as an exercise for the reader. If they would like to recur any of these enhancements, they're more than welcome to with this card. Oh, here's what stands out to me though. Like getting your first sacrifice back, that's really good. If you're nativity, you could get your coming prince back. But the downside is you have to get that to resolve. And most times it's not going to work. They're going to have a negate for you. But if you're playing an Isaiah deck, I could see a world where you want to play this and get your first sacrifice back. I'll leave it at that. The Lord calls interrupt the battle, protect heroes in battle from harm. If played from reserve, you may draw 3. So obviously they're intending us to try and play this card with Jeremiah, who can play enhancements from reserve. But the way that Jeremiah is worded, you can actually use enhancements of any brigade. So you're going to have, when building your Jeremiah deck, you're going to have the choice. You're going to be forced to pick enhancements, and you get to play the best enhancements from any brigade. And is there a world where the Lord Calls is one of the best enhancements you can play on Jeremiah? I think it's going to be a tough competition because there's like Amazing Faith. There's what's that one where it's like sin offering? Yeah, you have sin offering, like it's like a reusable negate, which is big. Amazing Faith, CBN, negate evil cards. And like when you have sin offering and Amazing Faith in your reserve, do you really want to have a third enhancement? So maybe if Jeremiah's changed where you can't really use enhancements of any color, you have to forced to be green, maybe this card sees play. But I don't think it will right now. All right, moving on. The Lord dwells. Interrupt the battle. Shuffle up to X evil cards. Cannot be prevented. Used by Joel. Interrupt the battle. X is the number of brigades in opponent's discard pile. So it's not good on turn 1 usually. Who's Joel? You have 2 Joels. They have good initiative numbers. So playing a battle winner is nice. Cannot be prevented. Is there any way I can put Joel in a battle and do like fight by the numbers? I don't know. I don't think there is. Okay, cannot be prevented is a nice thing on Joel, but you really want to see interrupt the battle, do something, cannot be prevented for your Moses deck. And unfortunately, this does not say Moses on it. Yeah, it's cool. It's a little conditional for my tastes. A little dead on turn 1, but aside from that, it seems decent. All right, moving on. Worship at Jerusalem. Opponent must shuffle an evil card from hand. OT Prophet may ban to OT Hero. If I'm playing a banding enhancement, I think I'd want to play one that interrupts the battle and bans at least 3 in the battle. So let's just see what this enhancement is going to have some competition with. Going to put the word banned, maybe interrupt. So yeah, you're going to have to compete with your Faith of Samuel, your Gathered Together, Visions of Ido the Seer, and even Not Alone. Oh, I guess there's this card too. I forgot about this card. All right, anyways, so yeah, I think this is good for Booster Draft, but I don't know if it's good enough for Hype Well. Moving on. All right, we're done with green. Let's keep this ball rolling, shall we? Then we got the silver. Shuffle all evil characters in battle and opponent's evil fortresses. It's Isaiah enhancement. Maybe. I think angels are pretty good at dealing with opponent's evil fortresses anyways. I don't know. I think this card's good for Booster Draft, but I don't see it being a player in Type 1. Delivered from Distress. You may play an OT hero from deck. Hero may ban to OT hero. So this card is very interesting. I could see a world where you build a whole deck around Amos and trying to get Amos into battle. So let's look at Amos remind us what he does. Basically, he says, shuffle your opponent's blocker, cannot be interrupted. So the idea is you attack with the hero, you get initiative, play enhancement that bans Amos, and then you get to do his sweet effect. And so this is one card that could surprise people by being able to get 2 Amos. Like, let's say someone looks at your hand and like, oh, delivered from distressed. You attack with your angel, They let you have initiative. You play this, you get your Amos, and they get surprised, maybe. So yeah, that's where my head immediately goes when I'm reading this card. There's maybe, yeah, OT. There's a lot of OT heroes. So if we just filter for OT hero, putting any one of these into battle, you can do a lot of things. But yeah, what decks are out there that are just attacking with like a lone Silver Brigade hero getting initiative? Maybe it's the Surveying Spirit deck. This card could be great with that. Like you attack, you get rid of their answer out of their hand. They block, you get initiative, and now you have Pandora's box you can open up on them. So that could be good even like a type 2 or 100 card type 1 decks type of strategy. All right, let's keep moving. Do not question, negate evil enhancements. And if your heroes in battle do not share a book, you have to negate other good enhancements too. So on the upside, this could be negate evil enhancements or negate other enhancements in battle, basically. Seems good. Let's see. Let's compare it with the other silver enhancements that are out there right now and see if there's anything quite like that. I don't think there is. So this is like a new effect for white, or sorry, for silver. And silver tends to have big characters usually. So having this blanket negate is a good option for them. I think we've only seen like negate an evil enhancement or something. We haven't seen negate opponents' evil enhancements plural in battle. So that's cool. It's not as good as Faith Unbowed or anything, but still, it's silver isn't known for having good enhancements, like ones that are awesome to play. But this one, okay, it's like, okay, here we go. There's like some decent silver enhancements in this set. This one, Jerusalem Filled, kind of goes along with the Delivered from Distress we looked at earlier, where if you attack with your tiny little Zechariah angel, you get to interrupt the battle and ban to all these people and ban your Amos in. So it's like another card that kind of falls into that strategy that I'm thinking about in my head. And I'm just thinking, how could I abuse this card in type 2? You can play 4 Surveying Spirits, 4 Jerusalem Fields, and you can just go to town. Woohoo! All right, return to fight. It's another interrupt the battle and band. You attack with your Surveying Spirit. You get initiative. You play this. Guess what you can do? You can get your Angel of the Winds, who exchanges to your deck for Amos, or you get your Victorious Being. Wait, does it say OT? Oh, never mind. So redact what I said about Angel from the Winds. Just put Victorious Being, who can just get to Amos anyways. So that's where my brain immediately goes. Return to flight, play it in your silver deck, go to Victorious Being, grab your Amos. But what else could you do with this card? So if you play it on your Michael, you can put a white Brigade character in battle. But we know for a fact it has to contain silver. So if you play this and then have to ban an OT hero. So you got options, but most likely it's going to be OT Angel. Play this on your Angel, you get to ban to an Angel, OT Angel from your deck. So interrupt the battle, go to Malik is good. What else? Interrupt the battle, Surveying Spirits is good, I guess. Interrupt the battle. Yeah, it's a solid card. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, moving on. Scatter and Scorch, we already talked about this card, and we're done with silver. So is that all the good enhancements from the times to come? Well, I think it is. We did it, folks. Should I stop recording and hit evil characters next video? No, let's just keep going. We got momentum. I got time. Got some water, a drink. All right, where should we start? Black Brigade. We haven't really seen an evil character that restricts good dominance and draws cards. So that's new. Like, what are the evil characters today that restrict dominance? We got Foolish Shepherd is probably the restrict dominance ban to an animal. Judas is probably the most famous. Restrict good dominance, may ban to a demon. Caiaphas, blocking alone, restrict good dominance. Serpent, if it can restrict good dominance. Yeah. So yeah, it's like restricting good dominance in battle is a very powerful effect. Being able to ban or draw 2 is really good. The fact that this is generic means you can play it in your type 2 deck and have 4 copies, or or your type 100 card deck and have 2 copies. So yeah, this card is a really compelling reason to want to play Greeks right now. There are just a lot of decks running around. At least the decks that I've built rely heavily on using good dominance in battle. And this card will kind of put a stop to that and force opponents to play a normal redemption battle using enhancements. Oh no, gasp. I think we're going to see a little bit more of this type of effect printed on evil characters moving forward, just to try and combat the strength of how powerful good dominants are in battle. But yeah, I think Herods have shown us like the power of evil characters that can block and aren't really scared of the opponent's dominance. So this is one of them. I really wish, in a perfect world, wish he had the cannot be prevented modifier, because decks that like to play good dominance in battle can adapt to this card being in the meta by running more Lazarus type effects, cards that negate opponent's evil characters. So there will be some counterplay to this from the good dominant deck, but this certainly can help defenses block more than they used to block. All right, moving on. Antigonus the One-Eyed. Here's your cannot be prevented modifier slapped on a 2/3. He's a cycle of kings. There's 4 kings, maybe technically 5. Anyways, we'll get to all of them. But he says you may discard a good fortress, or a selected player must draw 1. If opposed by 3 or more heroes, negate good cards. Tyler has been talking about printing more cards and designing more cards that are good against multiple heroes in battle, punishing banding. So this is kind of like one of those cards that is coming out of that design philosophy, in which I agree there needs to be more punish for banding. But yeah, so being able, if there are multiple heroes in battle, being able to negate their heroes and their enhancements is amazing. And if the opponent has an Abomination of Desolation, or no, sorry, if you have Abomination of Desolation active, you can force somebody to draw a card and discard something in their territory. That's cute. Or just straight up discard a good fortress. And there's a lot of good fortresses running around. Good fortresses running around, I should say. Just being able to incidentally snipe off a storehouse or a Herod's Temple is great. Cannot be prevented. Awesome. Yeah, if you're playing Greeks, I think this card makes the cut. It's like not the most exciting evil character in the world, but it's just all around solid. I think of him kind of like a Herodias' daughter in the Herod's deck. It's good for getting initiative, good for sniping off storehouses and stuff. And the fact that this can punish banding chains and this cannot be prevented is great. Checks a lot of boxes I like to see. Antiochus IV Epiphanes, one of the characters prophesied about in the book of Daniel. Such an interesting book. But there was a classic version of him. Let's see, let's take a trip down memory lane. It says if another Greek evil character is in play, discard a hero. Opponent may discard a card of matching brigade from hand or territory instead. Cannot be negated. So I think they pretty much reprinted him. Is that the same? Is that the same ability? Same effect? I think it is. If blocking another Greek is in play, discard a hero. Oh, so yeah, this one only targeted heroes, but this could target anything. Opponent may discard a card matching brigade from hand or territory. And this does matching alignment. Okay. So yeah, a little bit updated ability and a little bit more flexible with the targets. And something I don't know, let's say you decide to discard opponent's hero in their territory. Can they discard from hand? Or do they have to discard from play? I think it's from play, right? I don't know. I'm guessing this defaults to play since it's not specifying. Its controller may discard their card for matching alignment instead from play. That's what I'm reading in between the lines here. So opponent has an evil card in play. You want to discard it. They either have to discard it or discard their other evil card in play. That's what I'm guessing. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But it seems good if it's like that. An opponent attacks with a lone hero and you go like Alexander's Destroyers, Bandit, and Tychus, and all of a sudden they have to discard one of their, you choose their lone hero. You choose to discard their lone hero. And now I think they're forced to discard it because they don't have any other cards, good cards in play. So yeah, this is like an evil card that's good on turn 1. I love that. He's a little challenging though, because you have to get the other evil Greek in play, but there's a lot of Greeks that band to each other, so it's not impossible. But it's unfortunate, like the turn that he's the best on is the hardest to pull his ability off. Because if you try to pull this ability off later in the game, there's a great chance they're just going to be able to discard a card in their territory that they don't really care about of matching alignment. He's great for sniping artifacts, because usually opponent only have one neutral card in their territory, unless they're sites, of course. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting card. Love thinking about him. Cannot be negated is great. Antiochus is army unity. All your evil characters, all your Greeks have to be evil. And so its ability is you may activate an idol from deck, or a selected player must draw 1 card. Protect evil Greeks from the next good card played in battle. So I think we've looked over the idols from my last, let's see, identifier contains idol. You get to activate one of these from your deck, assuming it's like an actual idol. Does it say OT? So you can activate New Testament idols from this. That's good to know. But yeah, the best one is obviously Abomination of Desolation, but the Unity is kind of rough. I was trying to build a bigger 100 card deck. And the nice thing about that is you can play 2 copies of Abomination of Desolation in your deck, but just having the Greek Unity is really a tough requirement when there's like not a critical mass of decent Greeks for 100 card deck. But I think in a 50 card deck, you could design it where you would go super Daniel focused, play Ancient of Days. And yeah, too bad this card isn't that consistent. Like some games, you're just going to draw your A-bomb, and this card just says, great, selected player must draw a card. If he's not activating A-bomb out of your main deck, he doesn't seem that great to me. I mean, maybe there's a chance you do Ashura Pull. I don't know. I'm not super thrilled with this card. I wish it was a little bit stronger for such a legendary Antiochus. He's like the figure of what the Antichrist might look like. This pagan ruler coming in. And the artwork too, it's like, oh. Everything else is like so epic. And they just have like these cartoon characters walking around. Like, I love this, I love this, love this. It's just like cartoon characters. So anyways, I just have a couple of critiques with this card, but who am I to critique? They're doing a great job designing cards and printing cards. All right, Cassander of Macedon. You may take an Evil Daniel card from reserve or draw 2 cards. If blocking alone, you may choose a hero to attack. Right? Well, he reminds me of Herod the Great, which is a CBN choose a hero to block. But I think Herod, you didn't have to be alone to do that. And so like what you could do with Herod's is have these big banding chains, band and then put, I just want to make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, it doesn't say if alone. But what you could do is like band to a bunch of heroes or band to a bunch of Herods and then put Herod at the end and choose someone to block or attack. But this guy, you have to be alone to do that. And that's a liability sometimes when you're worrying about Angel of the Lord. Okay, let's evaluate him. And let's see what kind of Evil Daniel cards. So I think let's limit our search to black Daniel cards. Because if you grab like a crimson Evil Daniel card, like I don't think that's going to help you the battle. Okay, I think we're going to specifically limit it to black enhancements from Daniel. And there's a lot of good ones. So yeah, like here's a good combo. You go Cassander of Macedon, block, choose their hero with less than 12 attack to attack. And then you play this, like the best case scenario, what you can do. So let's say you had your Cassander of Macedon. They have a 6/6 in their territory. You choose that 6/6 to attack. That counts as them playing the last card in battle. So if they have a 6/6 and you have a 7/6 in battle, you'll have initiative to play enhancement. So that's like the best case scenario where you could pretty much engineer a cool restrict enhancements, win the battle, kill your hero. You could do a similar thing with Herods where if you use Herod the Great to choose their 10 attack hero, you would get initiative and you can play your Contagious Fear, Futile Inquisition or something like that. So yeah, just know you can do that with Cassander. You can engineer yourself in a way to get initiative, and that's good when thinking about these different types of cards you can play. Here's another combo where you can put a lone hero into battle, kick out their giant banding chain, put a hero into battle that you know they can't band, and then get initiative, play this to activate A-bomb, and the opponent's going to be put in special initiative, and there's not a lot of ways to get rid of that. Like we said earlier, that's like another combo. And generic interrupt the battle, discard a fortress. So yeah, that's good. That's good. Just not as good as the other synergies we've been seeing. Let's see. Cannot be prevented. So if there's a battle by the numbers, looks like he's well equipped to win. Yeah, I guess you could do this. You could do this. You could do this. Yeah, Cassander's got a lot of options. I like Cassander. Yeah, you can choose a hero to attack and then grab a nice sweet enhancement, get initiative, play it. Love that. Greek Forces says if blocking another evil characters in play, you may negate and discard a card in a territory. So some territory disruption. I think this is kind of like the Roots Assyrians we've seen. Yeah, Assyrian Siege Army. Isn't it the same ability? If blocking in another Assyrian is in play, you may negate and discard a card in a territory except a character. What's the difference? Why do they look different? I think the spacing. Oh, like Assyrian is a little bit longer. Oh, and this one, you could have a good Assyrian. If the opponent converted your Assyrian, this could still trigger, but this one checks for evil Greeks. Because yeah, there's a lot of good Greeks running around in the Bible. So anyways, yeah, what do I think about this card from a deck building perspective? Having ways to negate and discard cards in territories is great. I love that kind of interaction. Redemption needs more of that. I think Redemption needs more of that. Unless you're the honeypot player and doesn't want any of their territory being touched. I remember back in classic days, the number of cards that could interact with sites and fortresses was so limited. And so those cards were like really powerful. But now we've been seeing, especially a lot with this set, there's just so many cards that negate and discard stuff in territories or just negate anything. So the strength of fortresses, sites, artifacts, it's going down over time. Whereas it used to be like artifacts were almost impossible to deal with back then in the day, unless you had like a destruction of Nehushtan. But now like there's so many cards being printed where they can just instantly discard troublesome cards. And that's a great thing to have. I think every defense needs that. That's why I love playing with Prince of the Air. I love playing with Herod Antipas. Cards that can just negate a card, discard a card in a territory, underdeck a card. These open up a lot of ways you can get yourself out of hairy situations if you're on the back foot. You have ways to swing the momentum of the game back in your favor. And the most powerful is when this type of effect is printed on heroes like Mary, Holy Virgin, Joshua's Sword. If you're able to disrupt opponents' things with your heroes, be proactive instead of reactive with these type of cards that like Greek forces. Yeah, if let me just like imagine a world if there was a good card that said, if attacking and another blah 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 is in play, you may negate and discard a card in a territory except a character. Like that would be really, really strong on a hero. But when it's printed on an evil character, it's kind of like whatever. That's an interesting dynamic for me. I think the heroes, like it's great to be proactive. You get that first strike hit, boom, blow up your gates of hell before you get to use it to block. Whereas like if opponent's attacking you, like they've already gotten to use their storehouse for the turn, or they've already had the chance to activate their temple. The artifact is already active and negating your Greek forces or whatever. So yeah, not super excited about this card. I do like it. I do like the design concept, and I do like how it kind of mirrors this. The artwork is cool. All right, let's keep moving. Ptolemy. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he's the ruler of Egypt. And he's in between some sphinxes. This is some crazy art. Where'd you get this art? This art is crazy. Who is that? Is that what's going on? What are they rolling out? The red carpet? Anyways, so if blocking, opponent has hand advantage, you may discard a card, except a card in battle. So kind of mirroring the Greek forces, but a little bit more less conditional. I guess, I don't know. I don't know what's easier, to put another Greek into play or to get hand advantage or hand disadvantage. Anyways, may ban 2 or Greek regardless of protective abilities. So going back to the honeypot player, they have their glory of the Lord. They slap that down on their tabernacle and they're just like, who can stop me now? Then you block Ptolemy and regardless of protect, discard their tabernacle. Now granted, they'll probably have a Holy of Holies out negating this guy, but a Babooni can dream about when the regardless of protect discard could be relevant. I guess this could also, opponent has a wall protection, you could do regardless of protect band to their Greek. So regardless of protect on a band is interesting. I don't think we've seen that before. Yeah, probably not as good as Cassander, maybe like a step behind Antiochus and Antigonus, but he's an interesting card. If I'm playing a big Greek deck, yeah, sure, I'll put him in here. Seleucus, the victorious. You may draw X is number of heroes in battle, or discard an artifact. If opponent has drawn 5 or more cards this turn, you may play OT Black Enhancement. So Jaden talked about how you could convert this character to a hero and then attack with a bunch of heroes, maybe like even your Daniel band. Put this at the end of your Daniel band, draw a bunch of cards. That's like a fun little thing you can do with him. But he's mostly designed to be blocking against large banding change. We've seen this type of design before. It's crazy. You have this punishes big banding change. This can punish big banding chains, and this punishes big banding chains. So the Greeks have a lot of tools to deal with banding. Anyways, kind of reminds me of a herdsman who's like, if opponent draws cards, you get to do things. But I think I would prefer to the herdsman type effect as opposed to playing OT Black Enhancement. Usually what happens is the most cards that are drawn happen on turn 1. And why is that? I think it's because most decks are running Foreign Wives, and most decks won't be able to block with Foreign Wives on turn 1. But on subsequent turns of the game, players are being careful about the number of cards they draw because Deceiver into Foreign Wives is always a small blocking option. Not to say that people don't draw cards with heroes. Past turn 2, but there's just a trend that when I'm trying to evaluate this card and think about this card, I'm kind of aware of that trend. So basically what I'm saying is opponents are going to be drawing the most cards on turn 1, and the chances that you have this guy and a great OT Black Enhancement to play might be smaller than you think. I don't know. He's still a great Greek evil character. He's definitely going in my Greek deck if I'm playing a Greek deck. But yeah, in a perfect world, you draw 4 cards. You draw your black enhancement that lets you scatter the opponent's evil characters, or like abandonment, and it's just amazing. So yeah, I also like to look out for black evil characters that play black enhancements, because what you can do is you can play the Tenants Kill the Sun. You play Tenants Kill the Sun, you ban to Goliath. Goliath will negate, band, draw, and play abilities. So it negates the play ability, will put Tenants back in your hand, puts Goliath back in your territory. Then Tenants Kill the Sun's discard ability will still happen and discard their hero in battle. Presumably lone after your opponent has withdrawn and presented a new hero. But the unfortunate downside, if you get to pull off the and Seleucus, the victorious plus Tenants plus Goliath, you have to put back the cards you drew if you drew with this. So anyways, that I'm just kind of thinking in the back of my mind, if I see a black card that says you may play a black enhancement, oh, dang it, this says OT black enhancement. Well, maybe I'll edit that out in the video and not try to confuse anybody. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Depraved. Oh, sorry. No, let's go back. So I guess this would still work if you used, you have to use an OT one that does that. So you'd have to play, no, not that one. I think it's the wickedness. So yeah, you would have to do what I just described. Instead of Tenants Kill a Sun, you would have to play Wickedness of Jezebel, ban to Goliath. Goliath negates the playability. The discard would still happen. So anyways, yeah. So I guess you could still do that, but you can't use Tenants, whatever. Okay, Depraved. Negate NT cards in battle. If blocking, opponent has Brigade advantage, draw, and or discard up to X cards. Cannot be prevented. Probably the best Depraved out of the cycle of Depraved. Like each Brigade in the set gets so Depraved. You get a crimson one, you get a brown one, you get a black one. Crimson one captures, the brown one reserves, black one discards, and I think discards the generally speaking the most powerful effect. I like the artwork on this card. I love what they're trying to do with trying to attack those Gospel of Christ cards. This doesn't negate Herod's Temple, but you might be able just to negate and discard that, or sorry, just discard that with its second ability anyways. Love that cannot be prevented. Reminds me of Outsiders, basically, like a better version of Outsiders. Outsiders is really good. I expect every Greek deck to be running this card, and I expect heroes, or I expect offenses in general be trying to minimize their brigade count. Do I have anything else to say about the Depraved here? I guess you could ban him in a battle. Oh no, sorry, never mind. You could ban him in a battle, but you could just block with them anyways. And just negate and discard the heroes. Really good against New Testament decks. I don't know what else you want me to say here. I guess as a deck builder, you just have to be aware of if you're trying to play New Testament enhancements on this guy, they're not going to work. So don't play your New Testament black enhancements on him. Because I know there's like a couple. You could play this one, cannot be prevented. Nice. Nice. Cannot be prevented black ones. But yeah, I think the other ones are not going to work. So just something to be aware of. Something to be aware of when you're building your Greek deck. Goat with the horns. Horns with the goat on him. Goat with a horn. He's a goat. What is the old artwork for the goat with like a horn? Goat. Yeah, it's very similar. This one's more scruffy looking. It looks a little bit more wild. Look at those eyes. Which one do I like more? I think I like the old one. Call me a sucker for nostalgia. But sometimes the AI just doesn't feel quite right. Anyways, moving on. It says may banter Greek warrior. Okay, let's filter onto the Greek warriors really fast so we can properly evaluate him. Look at all these Greek warriors. You have a bunch of Greek warriors. You have all those kings we looked at. Oh yeah. OT enhancements used by this card cannot be negated. Okay, let's look at the orange OT enhancements. Are there any battle winners here? No. Technically, yes. CBN Pride of Lions, anybody? Don't think you want to be playing. Does any one of these interrupt the battle? Hello? I guess if you're running Job, you could negate. I want to negate and discard something. Okay, yeah, so as far as OT orange, it's not a lot to go with here, but maybe they'll print more OT orange cards in the future, so that's something to be looking out for. Okay, so let's look at OT black enhancements. Cannot be negated. Look at all these cards. So one's, because Go with the Horn has high numbers, he's probably not going to get initiative, so you want to be playing OT enhancements that interrupt the battle and negate stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of skip any of them that aren't saying that. So yeah, interrupt the battle, do this, that's cool. This is already cannot be negated. Interrupt the battle. Not really. Yeah, this is probably the best card you can combo with your Goat with the Horn. Yeah, but here's what I'm seeing. So you have Goat with the Horn, and you also have Cicera. So having two evil characters that say if blocking OT enhancements cannot be negated. Oh, this one's OT enhancements used by this card. But basically what I'm trying to say is, like, if you build a black deck and you play both of these characters in your battle and you have these really good OT enhancements in your deck, there's like potentially a build around there. That's all I'm trying to say. So if there's more black enhancements that say interrupt the battle, discard opponent's heroes in battle, you could try to build a deck around that, using Cicera and Go with the Horn. Okay, is there anything else I want to say about this card? No. Okay, Prince agrees. Last black card and probably last card for this video. It says negate a good card. If opponent has used a search ability this turn, you may discard a card. Cannot be prevented. Combo is really nice with the Judean mediums. The most obvious combo, who says if opponent has used its draw a search ability, demons and magicians cannot be negated. May ban to a demon. So if they search and you block with mediums, go to Prince, you negate and discard their hero pretty much. So that is great. I do love cards. I do love Herod Agrippa, who says cannot be prevented, negate a good card. I do think the protection from multiple heroes and dominance is a little bit stronger than Prince of Greece's ability, but still, it's still really strong. The fact that you can put this guy at the end of your banning chain is really good, and I just love how flexible this negate a good card ability can be. Do I have anything else to say about Prince of Greece? My brain hurts. So I think I will stop there. Thanks for watching. I will be finishing up my set review. One more video. We're going to be looking at the brown and the crimson, and then we'll be done. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
It's you.